Nobody knows how to build a luxury name better than our next guest. He's the man credited with turning Gucci into the Uber brand it is today. Now he's the chairman of Tom Ford International. Domenico De Sole is with us live from Los Angeles, where I have to remind everybody, Domenico, it is just shortly after 4 o'clock in the morning. Great to see you on the Inside Track this morning. We told our viewers just moments ago that Tiffany reported earnings, and the outlook for Tiffany better than what Wall Street was looking for. 10% sales growth this year and earnings ahead of analysts' expectations. What does that say to you about the state of demand for luxury goods like the ones that Tiffany puts in those little blue boxes?
I think so confirmed what I expected in a way. I think the status of luxury good is quite strong. The demand really driven mostly by China and Asia in general. I think what has happened in the last several years, there's been a change from the 90s, the beginning of the decade, when Japan was really a driving force in the luxury market. And now is really the business is driven very strongly by the demand in China, both within China and from Chinese tourists traveling outside China.
So, Domenico, you're about several hours away, in fact, from leaving for Asia. You're going to be visiting Tokyo. You're going to be visiting Korea. You're going to be visiting China. What do you expect to see? We know that the Chinese, for example, are anticipating slower growth. We know that the government there is doing everything it possibly can to keep growth up while at the same time stimulating domestic demand. Is this having an impact at all on the growth in demand for luxury goods that you've seen in China that you just referred to?
Not yet. What is really happening in China is making a huge difference, that the so-called, the beginning when the expansion of the Chinese market were the first-tier cities, which were very relevant. But over the last several years, what used to be referred second-tier and third-tier cities in China have been really growing, and you've seen an expansion of the luxury market in China well beyond the primary markets of Beijing, Shanghai, and the demand continues to be very strong. And I would say the most important area of growth now, Macau has become very, very important, and a lot of other cities like Chengdu and other cities are become much stronger. So, and most important, what we have really seen, as I said before, there's a huge amount of business that is done with Chinese customer outside China in some of the most important locations like Paris, London, New York, and other European and American markets.
Domenico, you know all the players in the global luxury market, from Bernard Arnault to François-Henri Pinault, everybody, and of course the companies they run, LVMH, PPR, and Gucci, which is now one of its brands. Tell me, who do you think is best positioned globally, and in particular in this Chinese market that you're talking about, China plus Macau, plus some of these other high-growth destinations?
I would say that the best position are the brands that arrive in China at the earliest stage of when China will start developing. So I continue to see a lot of strength in Louis Vuitton, the leading brand of the LVMH group. My former company, Gucci, is performing extremely well, and Prada is doing very well also. And on the jewelry side, both Cartier and Tiffany are very well positioned with a very large presence throughout China. And on the men's side of the business is the company Ermenegildo Zegna doing extremely well. So these leading brands are really driving the growth in China. They're present in all the best malls, and they've gone from being in the third-tier cities to the second tier and moving on. So I really do believe for the next several years you will see a lot of growth coming for this brand, both within China and with Chinese customers in the most important markets in the world, including Europe.
And Domenico, does that outlook apply universally, say, to clothing, luxury apparel, the business that you're still in, to accessories, to jewelry, and possibly even all the way up to, say, luxury cars? Can you lump them all into the same basket in China?
Sort of. I really do believe that historically the big driving factors in Europe have been accessories. So you see some of the very large brands like Chanel and others, a great brand of products. They are strong on a worldwide basis with all their products, but in China the business tends to be driven mostly by accessories. So companies with a very strong accessory business like Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Prada, Bottega Veneta, they're really driving the market. On the other hand, also jewelry and watch companies are performing quite well. So I really do believe the outlook for companies like Cartier and Tiffany is quite good.
There was a study done not so long ago by an outfit called Brand Finance. In fact, became public yesterday. I think they do this every year, where they try to value the different brands in the luxury world. Now, Apple, as it turns out, is at the top of the list with a brand value of more than $70 billion. Then it gets quite, the differences between the luxury companies are quite narrow. Louis Vuitton at the top with $4.9 billion brand value. Tiffany, some $2 billion less. Is it reasonable in your mind to try and value a luxury brand? Clearly, this is something that companies like yours try to get their hands around. How do you think about it?
The way I think about it, really, I tend to look at really at the presence of the brand in the international market. The best way to understand a brand is see, A, their product line, where the strength is, how the strength matches the demand of the market, and most important, in the last several years, in which China is playing such an amazing role in driving the growth of luxury brands, it is what is the position of the brand in China, whether they are the best location in China, and how is the expansion plan continuing throughout Asia, and also still the strength in the United States. The United States remains a very important market for a lot of luxury brands. It's not just China alone.
How important, Domenico, is consolidation going to play in brand positioning and ultimately brand value? We know there's been a good deal in the past several years. You've seen it happen with brands that you've been involved with. What do you expect to see in the months and years ahead?
I believe there's going to continue to be some degree of consolidation. What has really happened, historic, if you look what has happened in the last 15 years, the base is some of the stronger brands like Louis Vuitton for the LVMH group, and in my old company, the Gucci group, the dominant brand have been really successful in driving the growth of the other brands to be consolidated to the major companies. The best example I can give you that it was the Gucci group, and I remember in 2001 we purchased Bottega Veneta, and Bottega Veneta now has become one of the strongest luxury players in the world, and all of that was driven by the strength of the Gucci brand that opened doors, repositioned the brand, and really has been amazing success. So that's also been done very successfully by LVMH, which, as you know, recently purchased the Bulgari brand in the jewelry area.
Well, Domenico, you're still affiliated with one of the world's most recognizable brands and individuals, Tom Ford. We thank you for being with us. Domenico De Sole, he is chairman of Tom Ford International, our own personal tour guide to the world of luxury goods.